Good morning, dear students. Today we will be discussing on the organization achieving increased competitiveness by using innovation and creativity. This is the second access session for OR2, and this is group learning set B. We expect you to discuss in this topic and let us make it more of a debate seminar rather than just giving your views. Uh, Now, I request you to have your introduction and just a mild reminder that please turn on your video when you are speaking. We cannot um, turn on everyone's video at one time because of the bandwidth issue. So when you are speaking, please turn on your video. So thank you. You can start with your introduction.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Diksha Tuladar, and my student ID is 19436736.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Sunshine Rai, and my UN ID is 19436738.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Isha Pokhrel, and my UN ID is 19436734.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Vanjila Khanal, and my student ID is 19436745.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Ganesh Tangal, and my UN ID is 19436741.
Good morning, everyone. My name is Vrishti Kesi, and my student ID is 19436743.
The topic for today's SLS is organizations achieving increased competitiveness by using innovation and creativity, where we're going to discuss about Porter's generic competitive strategies. I'd like to start this SLS by talking about the relationship between creativity and innovation. An innovation process is said to be considered of two main activities, that is creativity and innovation. According to Roffey in 1999, a company aims to become creative and innovative because of all the global forces that influences it, as well as the benefits derived from the aspects of its business and prospects. Creativity and innovation are important variables in the current scenario and essential elements in the sustainability of an organization that aims to keep competitiveness by creating and adding value to their products in the face of the competition. Sean Hunter, the author of the Outthink How Innovative Leaders Drive Exceptional Outcomes, he defines creativity as the capability or act of conceiving something original or unusual. Whereas on the other hand, Peter Drucker defines innovation as the a specific tool of entrepreneurs and the means by which they exploit change as an opportunity for a business, for a different business or a different service. Drucker, he further argues that the most innovative business idea come from methodologically analyzing 7 areas of opportunity, some of which lies within particular companies or industries, and some of which lie in border of social or demographic needs. Again, Porter in 1980, he proposed that the competitiveness of nations depend on the ability of an industry to innovate and improve, and that companies achieve competitive advantage through innovation. Creativity has been studied a lot with reference to a product, process, or and individual's personality trait and is considered as a problem-solving process for both small and large businesses formed, and is also considered as the initial step towards innovation. In the article written by Minisha in 2018, it was also mentioned that creativity results in novel and useful products, ideas, or processes which automatically facilitates innovation. Uh, Therefore, for attaining innovative outcomes, creativity is very essential. As to the relationship between creativity and innovation, Rolfe in his article considers that idea generation is the critical part in the innovation process, and creativity is the thought process that assists in this view, considering that all the improvement in these skills will lead to a greater likelihood of emergence of new alternatives, approaches, and solution to problems. Finally, creativity and innovation can be the pathways for our business to reach new heights of product value, process improvement, productivity, market success, internal harmony, and competitive advantage.
Agreeing on what my friend talk about creativity, now I am going to add some thing more on it. So I am going to talk about the benefits of organizational creativity. There are plenty of ways organizations make use of creativity of their employees to add value to their businesses. One of where they can add their creativity is new product development. With an increase in globalization as well as the rise customers are always that can keep pace with this changing environment. What it means is that companies need to see the link between market needs and technologies, which is not always easy or straightforward. However, it can only be achieved by harnessing the activity which is having an creativity oriented company culture. In other words, it will become increasingly hard for companies to enjoy any kind of competitive advantage without making a use of creativity and by extension or innovation. Not only they will be missing without creativity, not only they will be missing out the plenty of opportunities, but also they cannot run the organizations more efficiently, more or less. It implies that organizational creativity is not only limited to only a handful of industries or influenced by the size of company itself. Creativity works equally as well as in all situations, as long as it is allotted to exist and thrive. 2008. Now I am going to talk something about importance of innovation in an organization. Organizations have several, they can strive for price leadership or develop a strategy of differentiation. In both cases, innovation is essential. Companies that choose a price leadership must secure their long-term competitiveness by developing innovative, highly efficient is very important for them. Companies that strive for a differentiation strategy needs innovation to develop unique and distinguishing features to their competitors. Many startups launch their activities by developing an innovative products or services in order to get the competitive advantage. Continuous innovation, therefore, is crucial for all companies. The main difference is in the focus of the innovation strategy, which varies considerably from company to company. Innovation is crucial for the organization to get a long-term competitiveness. Accordingly, methods of collaboration and teamwork are increasingly being used in numerous companies in order to promote digital innovation and overcome challenges of digital change.
Talking about Michael Porter's generic strategies, Michael Porter has described a category scheme consisting of three general types of strategies that are commonly used by businesses to achieve and maintain competitive advantage. And these three generic strategies are defined along the two dimensions. That is, first one is being a strategic scope, and second one being strategic strength. Strategic scope is a demand-sided dimension, and it looks at the size and composition of the market. A market businesses are intending to target in, whereas a strategic strength is a supply-side dimension, and it looks at the strength and core competencies of the firm. Whereas, to be precise, he identified two competencies that he felt were most important, that is product differentiation and product efficiency. And researchers on this on the profit impact of marketing strategy indicated that with a high market share were often firms with high market share were more often profitable, and but so were the firms with low market share. However, the firms with moderate market share were least profitable, and this is referred to as a hole in the middle problem. And Porter explains this as a firm with high market share were successful because they pursued a cost leadership strategy, and firms with low market share were profitable because sorry because they use segmentation to focus on a small but profitable niche market. And firms in middle were less profitable because they did not have a viable generic strategies. And combining multiple strategies is successful in only one case, and combining a market segmentation strategy with a product differentiation strategy with a product differentiation strategy is an effective way of matching firm's product strategy to the characteristics of your target market segment. And combining this combinations like cost leadership with product differentiation are hard to implement due to its potential for conflict between cost minimization and additional cost value added differentiation. And also some researchers have made a distinction between cost leadership, that is low cost strategies, and best cost strategies. And they claim that a low cost strategy is rarely able to provide a sustainable competitive advantage, and in most cases firms end up in price wars. And they also claim that a best cost strategy is preferred, and this involves providing the best value for relatively low price. And a firm's relative position within the industry is given by its choice of competitive advantage, that is cost leadership versus differentiation, and its choice of competitive scope. And competitive scope distinguishes between firms targeting sorry competitive scope distinguishes between firms targeting broad industry segments and firms focusing on narrow segments. And generic strategies are useful because they categorize strategic positions at the simplest and the broadest level.
Adding to what my friend said, Michael Porter has described a category scheme consisting of three general types of strategies that are commonly used by business to achieve and maintain competitive advantage. These three generic strategies are defined along two dimensions: strategic scope and strategic strength. Strategic scope is demand side dimension. Porter was originally an engineer, then an economics before he specialized in strategy, and look at the size and composition of the market intend to target. Strategic strength is a supply side dimension, and look at the strength or the core skill of the business. In particular, he identified two abilities that he felt were important: product dimension and product cost efficiency. Experimental research on the profit impact of marketing strategy indicates that frames with high market share were often quite profitable, but so were many frames with low market share. The least profitable frame were those with moderate market share. This was sometimes referred to as the hole in the middle problem. Porter explanation of this is that frame with high market share were successful because they pursued a cost leadership strategy, and frame with low market share were successful because they used market segmentation to focus on small but profitable market niche. Frames in the middle were less profitable because they did not have a viable general strategy. Cost leadership involves becoming with low cost frame in an activity can operationalized as low input cost in economics of scale, experience, cost, process design, and low pricing. Johnson 2011. Low input cost involves locating operation close to material and cheap labor. Economics of scale requires large scale of operation, and experience is where more experience leads to efficiency. Product process design influence efficiency by making product from cheap standard materials, while low pricing is made possible by having products that are close to competitors in terms of features. The frame can then make small price cut to compensate the slightly lower quality. Johnson 2011. The cost strategy should translate to a profit margin that is higher than the average. Differentiation involves uniqueness in doing something that is sufficiently valued by customers to allow a price premium. Johnson 2011. The emphasis can be on brand image, executive technologies, special features, superior service, a strong distributor network, or other aspect that might be specific to an industry. Porter 1985. The uniqueness should also translate to profit margin that is higher than the industrial average. Focus strategy is a narrow segment of a market not served well by cost leader or differentiation strategies, and tailor its product to the need of that specific segment to the exclusion of other. Johnson 2011. It's also employed when it is not appropriate to apply the both cost leadership or differentiation. Porter 1985. By offering a limited stage of service products serving specific market only, or having special product service for specific type of customer.
Now that my previously porous generic strategies have been talked about, like cost leader strategy and differentiation and focus strategies, I'd like to talk about how these porous generic strategies are a competitive advantage if organizations adapt to it, depending on what kind of industry they are or not. So Porter in 1980 and 1985 argued that the superior performance can be achieved in a competitive industry through the pursuit of a generic strategy, as mentioned previously, which he defines as the development of an overall cost leadership, differentiation, or focus approach to industry competition. So if a firm does not pursue one of these strategy types, it'll be stuck in the middle and will experience lower performance when compared to firms that pursue a generic strategy. So Day and Wensley in 1988 have argued that competitive methods consist of skills and resources that are available for use by firms in a competitive industry. And they define superior skills in terms of staff capability, systems, or marketing savvy not possessed by a competitor, because this gives them the almost like a first mover advantage as well, because they're using this strategy over their competitors, which customers and their competitors as well have never seen before. And Bharadwaj and others in 1993 suggests that a competitive advantage can be developed from a particular resources and capabilities that firms possesses that are not available to competitors, and the transformation of available skills and resources into a strategic position can only take place under conditions that provide customer benefit and normally requires the transformation of multiple competitive methods. So the ability to implant a cost leadership or differentiation or focus strategy onto their operations is dependent on a firm's ability to develop a specific set of competitive methods. This becomes the basis for the achievement of a average industry performance. However, it should be noted that Porter in 1980 indicates that firms cannot focus solely on a cost leadership or differentiation strategy to the exclusion of other strategies. He contends that cost leaders must devote some resources to differentiation activity, and that those that pursue a differentiation strategy cannot do so to the determinant of the cost structure. So prior research has identified hybrid strategies, which are those that simultaneous emphasis on both cost and differentiation competitive methods. And so a stuck in the middle position is difficult to identify, and prior research may not have or may have incorrectly classified hybrid generic strategies and stuck in the middle positions as equivalent, but it's not. So Young in 1999 concludes that understanding market structure is a key determinant to the successful implantation of a differentiation or cost leadership strategy. And similarly, while focus strategy would be focusing on almost a niche market, focusing on certain type of customers that desire your product or services. So, and while also pursuing this focus strategy, you also need to use the hybrid strategy. That would be maybe, if you want, while you are targeting a niche market, you also might want to focus on a cost leadership strategy while focusing on a focus strategy. So so then there is this need for hybrid strategy almost. So it's not just always solo. So however, Devlin and Inu in 1997 cautioned that a differentiation strategy may be difficult to implant in a service industry, because services are easily copied, and the fruitful options for achieving differentiation may be limited due to the simplicity and duplicability of financial service, unless the target market is highly sophisticated and knowledgeable. Same applies to products, because products as well are copied or almost imitated. So some studies have found support for a single strategy performance benefit. For example, scholars like Hamburg in 1983, Des and Davis in 1984, and Kalingo in 1989, they have on their research, they believe that single strategy performance is more beneficial. However, other research by scholars such as Miller and Frazen in 1986, Kim and Lim in 1988, Miller and Des in 1993, Wagner and Digman in 1997 have shown that it is possible to pursue a strategy that includes both cost and differentiation, or cost and focus, or differentiation and focus. These kind of competitive methods, although a performance benefit is not always evident, and it depends on the market and how good the luck of the organization is.
Harvard Business School professor Michael Porter defines competition in business as the struggle to attain a profitable and unique position in the market. A differentiation strategy is a way to stand out from the noise and give people a reason to choose your brand or business over others. Many people would think that companies would be all about that, but instead, they all often default to a generic strategy. Differentiation involves making the products that already exist or services different from and more attractive than those than the competitors. How companies do this depends on the exact nature of the industry and the products and services themselves, but will typically involve features, functionality, durability, support, and also brand image that the customers would value. To make a success of a differentiation strategy, organizations need good research, development, and innovation, the ability to deliver high quality product or services, effective sales and marketing, so that the market understands the benefits offered by the differentiated offerings. Large organizations pursuing a differentiation strategy need to stay agile with their new product development processes. Otherwise, they risk attack on several fronts by their competitors pursuing focus differentiation strategies in different market segments. While many companies focus on cost leadership as a competitive advantage strategy, others' main goal is to stand out from the crowd with something unique that differentiates them from the rest. And of course, this approach is not precisely easy to undertake with success, especially when we're talking about highly competitive industries. But what makes a company stand out and differentiate from its competitors? It has to be product innovation. That's one of a significant thing. The first and the most important point is product innovation. Tesla entered the automotive industry offering market disruptive electric vehicles that people absolutely loved. Their cars are not only environmentally friendly and extremely high tech, but also have a very distinctive and beautiful aesthetic. Over the years, many companies have tried building electric or hybrid cars, but none of them with the detail and elegant design that Tesla has so far achieved to make. But these are not the only aspects of Tesla's product differentiation. Some other attributes include the possibility to customize the car, regular software updates that it provides, solar panels and supercharging compatibility features, and self driving features as well. From the tech functionalities to the material of the car, they are that it's built in. It's no surprise that Tesla has really managed to differentiate from its competitors.
Adding to what my friend just said, differentiation is aimed at a broad market that involves the creation of product or services that is perceived throughout industry as unique. The company or business unit may have changed a premium for its product. This specialty can be associated with design, uh, with design, brand image, technology, features, dealers, network, or customer service. Differentiation is possible strategy for earning above average returns in a specific business. Because the resulting brand loyalty, lower customer sensitivity to price increase cost can usually be passed on the buyers. Buyers' loyalty can also serve as entry barrier. New business must develop their own unique competitive compet, uh, unique to differentiate their product in some way in order to compete successfully. Example of successful use of a differentiation strategy are Hero Honda, Asian Paints, Nike shoes, Apple computers, and Mercedes. Research does not suggest that differentiation strategy is more likely to generate higher profit than its lower cost strategy, because differentiation creates a better entry barrier. A low cost strategy is more likely, however, to generate increase in market share.
Yeah, I just mentioned by my friend, strategy pursuing differentiation seeks to develop unique products and services which have, which which have value and which endear them to the customers. And in essence, the product should be made better and different from that those of their competitors. And the value addition allows the firm that offer the services or products to charge a slightly higher fee and but still be able to attract buyers. And one of such example of a company is McDonald's, which McDonald's clients are from different classes and from different society, but they mainly consist of middle class and working individuals. And McDonald's has given consumers a chance of convenience and a value of services. The firm ensures that the customers do not have to wait in line for a long time. And this is indeed a distinct feature which very few restaurants have been able to offer. And some other approaches of McDonald's include um, including a present within their meal. And in one meal, McDonald's combined a $50 toy with a hamburger, French fry, and a Coke. And this one named as a Happy Meal, specifically designed for children. And such offers take pricing out of the view of consumers, and they are left to and appreciate the quality of services and products they are offered with. And another example of a company is Land Rover, which they have implemented innovation in marketing technology and its method. Land Rover is a differentiated upscale SUV manufacturer which uses a database marketing system to innovatively identify 4,000 Land Rover's owner meeting a particular profile. And Rover invited the selected owners to a special marketing event and sold about 1,000 new Land Rovers priced on average about $52,000. And Rover's investment on that database and mailing system was 100 150,000, and they had a return of 52 million. They had and because of which they could make 52 million sales. And thus this innovation in marketing method further supported and enhanced their differentiation strategy.
Now, I would like to add more on cost literacy, which my friend has mentioned about before. Adding more on cost leadership. Cost leadership is a strategy companies use to increase effectiveness and reduce production cost below the industry average or their closest competitors. It's a method to reduce the cost and produce the least expensive goods in a market or industry in an effort to gain market share. The modern business environment is very complex and sophisticated, and customers are being aware of the choice available to them. One of the ways firms differentiate themselves is through competitive pricing. Businesses who have the least production cost are able to offer the same level of product quality compared to their competitor for a much lower price. Consumers are constantly looking to increase their purchasing power, and if that cannot be achieved through an income increment, then buying more at a lower price is the next best alternatives. Business who seek to be cost leaders tap into this opportunity to offer the average customers great products at great prices. Cost leadership is a part of marketing strategy, although it is highly effective in gaining market share as well as drawing the customers' attention. It is difficult to deploy. The management team of the company has to constantly work towards reducing the cost of not just one product, but the entire range of products in the company's portfolio. Cost leadership does not mean that a company produces goods which are of inferior quality at competitively cheap rates. That strategy will ultimately lead to failure. To deploy this strategy, a company has to produce goods which are of acceptable quality and fits to a set of customers at a price which is much lower or competitive than other companies producing the same product in the market. The most famous examples of cost leader in India are Big Bazaar and Big Mart.
Um, as my friend just talked about what cost leadership strategies is all about, so now I'd like to give some company example to support his view. As a business owner, we need to consider various marketing strategies that will have the greatest impact on the revenues and profits. And for that, cost leadership is that one strategy where a company set the most competitively priced products on the market. Cost leadership strategy place emphasis on efficiency through the production of high volumes and standardized products in order to take advantage of the scales of economy. Porter in 1980, he explains that high market shares were successful because they pursued a cost leadership strategy, and firms with low market share were successful because they used market segmentation to focus on a small but profitable market niche. We can see examples of cost leadership as a strategic marketing priority in many big corporations such as Walmart, McDonald's, and Southwest Airlines. So first, talking about McDonald's, their main competitive advantage is that they highly rely on this cost leadership strategy. The company is able to utilize economies of scale and produce product at a low cost, and as a result offer products at a lower selling price than that of its competitors like Arby's. Vertical integration is a strategic objective that is linked to McDonald's cost leadership strategy. For example, they use low quality ingredients to keep their prices low, and this cost leadership strategy enables them to sustain in its market leadership. Now talking about Walmart, They are perhaps the most famous cost leaders and have been using a cost leadership strategy to become the largest company in the world. The firm's advertising slogans such as always low prices and save money, live better communicates Walmart's emphasis on price slashing to potential customers. The idea of everyday low price is to consistently offer products at an attractively cheaper rate than competitors rather than depending only on sales. Um, Walmart has a large scale and efficient supply chain, and they also source products from cheaper yet better domestic suppliers and from the low wage foreign markets. Therefore, the company can sell their items at low prices, profiting of thin margins but in high volumes. Similarly, Evans in 2019 mentioned that to address competition, the Southwest Airlines strategic objective is also to minimize operating costs, optimize profit margins, keep low prices, and offer its airline service to the mass market. To achieve cost leadership, Southwest Airlines target efficiency. The company only uses a Boeing 737s in its fleet rather than a variety of aircraft, which reduces the training needs for pilots, crews, and mechanics. It also foregoes a seat assist assignments, eliminating the time and cost for reusing new boarding passes in the event of a last-minute aircraft switch. The large-scale operation linked to this generic strategy for competitive advantage supports the fulfillment of the company's mission and vision statement, which aims for global leadership in the industry.
Yes, while I do agree that cost leadership strategy is one of the strategies that would provide benefit to certain organizations because they know how to handle it, but I would like to give a contradicting point to that very strategy by reminding you that it's not always possible because while pursuing cost leadership strategy, I would like to more focus on the emerging market, and I would like to show there are difficulties in pursuing a cost leadership strategy. And while big almost the examples that have just been said are big organizations, Walmart and Southwest Airlines, and how they pursue cost leadership strategy, but in an emerging market the situation is different. So here, researchers such as Helms and others in 1992 have associated cost leadership with mass merchandisers such as the retail firm Kmart and Walmart, as previously mentioned, or fast food restaurants such as McDonald's and KFC. In all cases, cost leadership is the result of some extra efficiency in the cost structure in comparison to their competitors. So a high degree of price sensitive demand alone is not enough for this strategy to be effective. So Porter in 1980 has said that there are some environmental conditions that form the foundation of cost leadership. So first, the target customers need to be industry-wide. That is, demand should be market-wide, not segment-wide. So also Murray in 1988 has said that the customers demanding the products need to be price sensitive. And Wright in 1987 has stated that to meet this broad and substantial demand, considerable resources are needed. This generally prevents all small firms or startups from successfully following a cost strategy. Keep in mind that the previous examples for cost strategy given by fellow members were considerably big companies, not small companies or startups. So here is the conflict, the clashing point. So emerging markets presents a notably different environmental conditions than the ones in which cost leadership, especially multinational companies from developed nations also first formulated this strategy. So how easily then does a developed country cost-based strategy transfer to emerging market economies? If cost leadership is based on a foundation of advantageous efficiency, how easy is it for multinational companies from developed countries to be more efficient than competitors in emerging markets, not in the developed market? So here the thing is, let's talk about consumer demand. Because the cost leadership strategy is dependent on a large segment of price-sensitive consumers that demand the products. But Banodopaya in 2001 and Man Rai and others in 2001 have said that this demand frequently does not exist in emerging markets. For example, both AT&T and General Motors used this method of slashing prices and cutting product features to compete in the Chinese market and failed. So plainly, the consumer demand in China and other emerging markets is considerably difficult from, and for some products is less intense than. So consumers in, it's more different than the consumer demand in developed markets, even for items that developed market consumers consider a necessity. It's not the same for consumer demand in an emerging market. Frequently, the broad base of demand recognized as a key ingredient to successfully applying a cost strategy just does not exist in this market. The next would be economies of production and or distribution. So economies of production or distribution require a large consumer base to fund them. Nakata and Shivakumar in 1997 have said that to realize such economies in emerging markets, multinational companies must either find products that are purchasable by both the haves and have-nots, or leverage their resources generated in other markets. And Arnold and Quelch in 1998 and Hokaisen and others in 2000 have said that owing to the myriad of infrastructure and institutional weaknesses noted earlier, the ability to generate scale economies in emerging markets is restricted. And then when you talk about smaller businesses or startups, when it comes to distribution, they don't have necessarily the resources to fund such wide-scale distribution that would in fact add more cost, and it would not necessarily be a cost leadership strategy. In fact, there would be no profit for them at all. So let's talk about the environment especially. So there's this unstable environment because the defining feature of emerging markets is volatility. So Lamont and others in 1993 and Lee and Miller in 1996, as well as Miller in 1998, have said that emerging markets are growing and changing at a rapid rate, and they are generally characterized by moderate to high political and economic risk. And this is almost currently demonstrated in the obvious examples of countries such as Venezuela, Philippines, Russia, Indonesia, and also many in the Middle Eastern states. So these uncertain and dynamic markets have considerably been found to a poor fit with cost leadership. Instead, research by Miller in 1988 suggests that differentiation is a more appropriate strategy for environments with these features, while efficiency strategies are suited to these stable markets that better allow for consistent planning, refining, and improving. So when we focus on the startups or smaller businesses to pursue cost leadership on such a volatile environment, that simply does not help them at all, because Miller himself has said that differentiation is more better than cost leadership in pursuing, especially in the emerging markets. So it is better for startups to rather follow a differentiation or focus strategy for this market rather than trying to cut down on their cost. So the next would be unique positive features. So emerging markets have a pent-up demand for goods from developed countries, and brands from these countries often carry positive quality connotation. So this circumstance does not easily support a cost leadership strategy, but might support a differentiation or a focus strategy, as I said earlier. So let's consider the case of McDonald's here when it first entered China. Xu and Li in 2001, in their their research have stated that McDonald's restaurants in the United States and other developed countries emphasize speed of service, economy of distribution, and cost leadership. However, in China, by contrast, McDonald's found that consumers were attracted to the clean environment, pleasant ambiance, and polite staff, that is, to the high quality service that McDonald's offered. Here we see two contrasting points in two different markets, that is developed markets and emerging markets, and how this consumer demand varies depending on this market, because it's volatile and you don't know what the consumer can be looking for. And this encouraged this research study showed that it encouraged McDonald's to abandon cost leadership as a strategy in China almost. So what they had followed in a developed market, they had to abandon in an emerging market because that was more beneficiary for them. And the next point would be managerial focus on cost control and employee productivity. So cost control, though through a managerial focus on employee productivity, is another potential route to cost leadership in emerging markets. Consider developed country multinational companies that use their experiences and skills set to more efficiently produce, market, and distribute products than competitors. So Napier and Wu in 1998 have said that, on the other hand, due to cultural differences and a lack of intimate knowledge of local business practices, it may be difficult for that sort of managerial focus that they have been following in developed markets to be transferred into this emerging market that they have set up to enter. So human resource skills do not transfer directly to emerging markets. Furthermore, managerial capabilities may be duplicated by competitors, making it difficult to sustain advantage over time for cost leadership strategy.
Companies that use a cost leadership strategy and those that use differentiation strategy share one important characteristic. Both groups try to be attractive to customers in general. These efforts to appeal to a broad range of consumers can be contrasted with strategies that involve targeting a relatively narrow niche of potential customers. This is also known as focus strategies, according to Porter. Focused cost leadership is the first of the two focus strategies. A focused cost leadership strategy requires competing based on price to target a narrow market. A firm that follows this strategy does not necessarily charge the lowest in the industry. Instead, it charges low prices relative to other firms that compete within the target market. For example, one might be able to buy milk cheaper by driving to a big box grocery store in the local community or town, but the local corner store is the cheapest within walking distance. Another important point is that the nature of the narrow target market varies across firms that use a focused cost leadership strategy. In some cases, the target market is defined by demographics. In other cases, the target market is defined by the sales channel used to reach customers. Most pizza shops offer sit down service, delivery, or even both. In contrast, some sell pizzas that customers cook at home. Because these inexpensive pizzas are baked at home rather than in the store, they may attract customers that might not otherwise be able to afford a prepared pizza. Um, Another one is a focused differentiation, which is the second strategy. A focused differentiation strategy requires offering unique features that fulfill the demands of a narrow market. As with a focused low cost strategy, narrow markets are defined in different ways in different settings. Some firms using a focused differentiation strategy concentrate their efforts on a particular sales channel, such as selling over the internet only. Others target particular demographic groups. One example is Breezer's Resort, a company that caters to couples without children. The firm operates 7 tropical resorts where vacationers are guaranteed they will not be annoyed by loud and disruptive children. Um, while a differentiation strategy involves offering unique features that appeal to a variety of customers, they need to satisfy the desires of a narrow market, means that the pursuit of uniqueness is often taken to be perceived as next level by firms using a focused differentiation strategy. Thus, the unique features provided by firms um, following a focused differentiation strategies are often specialized.
Adding to what my friend spoke on focus approach, I will be giving an example of PepsiCo. In early 1997, US-based PepsiCo, one of the largest packaged food companies in the world, announced a miserable financial performance for the fiscal year 1996. Although the company revenue has increased marginally 4% from $30.2 billion in 1995 to $31.64 billion in the official year 1996, the net income has witnessed a major decline of 28.45% from $1.6 billion to $1.149 billion in the same period. Experts pointed at the PepsiCo lack of focus on its core operation as one of the major reasons for its poor financial performance. In its effort to improve its focus on its core beverage, PepsiCo and snack food business, PepsiCo underwent a major restructuring by spinning off its restaurant business as an independent public traded company. The spin-off was completed in October 1997. In July 1998, PepsiCo launched Tropicana, the world leaders in the marketing and production of branded juices in its effort to support its position in the non-carbonated beverage segment. Despite of its restructuring effort, experts felt that PepsiCo still had a lot of distance to cover to catch up with its about a century old competitors. Coke in 1998, PepsiCo accounted for 31.4% of the US soft drinks market as compared to Coca-Cola 44.5%. In the same year, Coca-Cola generated 63% of its scale as compared to PepsiCo 31% from its above operation. In its attempt to catch up with Coke, PepsiCo took several initiatives throughout the late 90s and early 2000s. One of the major initiatives undertaken to focus on its core business was uh, hiving off its bottling operation into a separate new company called Pepsi Bottling Company in September 1998. In January 1999, PepsiCo sold its 65% of equity stake in PBG to the public and raised $2.3 billion in cash. PepsiCo restructuring effort paid off generously as its operating profit rose from $2.58 billion in the fiscal year 1998 to $3.225 billion in the fiscal year 2000. This was achieved through the achievement of the South Beach Beverage Company in October 2000 and Quaker Oats, a leading food and drink company, in December 2000.
Adding to the aforementioned point, I would like to add something about the combination of two strategies. And an organization may also choose a combination of strategies by mixing the aforementioned generic strategies. For example, a firm may choose to have a focused differentiation strategy, and this means that organization has a unique product offered to a target market segment. And an organization may also choose to have a focused cost differentiation strategy, which means this organization would use a cost leadership strategy targeted to a specific market segment. And as Helms and others in 1997 puts it, there is much debate as to whether or not a company can have a differentiation and low cost leadership strategy at the same time. And uh, uh, Porter felt differentiation and cost leadership were mutually exclusive. However, researchers such as Buzzell and Gale in 1997, Miller and Frenson in 1986, they disagree to it. And Kumar and others in 1997, in their study of generic strategies used in the hospital industry, found where hospitals followed a focused cost leadership hybrid strategy, they exhibited higher performance than those following either only a cost leadership strategy or differentiation strategy. So similarly, in the research on the UK wine industry, Richardson and Jennings in 2003 found the hybrid focused differentiation approach were best for niche market segments. And similarly, Spanos and others in 2004 studied a Greek manufacturing industry, and they found hybrid strategies were preferable to pure strategies. And similarly, according to Porter's low cost and differentiation are directly connected with profitability. And as research address the relationship between strategy and performance, some studies concluded only pure strategies, that is either generic strategy of cost leadership or only differentiation strategy, resulted in superior performance, while other research found the combination of those strategies, that is low cost and differentiation strategies, were more fruitful.
Now I am going to talk something about Porter's generic competitive strategy. Porter's model of generic competitive strategy is an important synthesis of Porter's research and teaching experience within strategy and industrial economics. Since the publication of his model in 1980, Porter's 1998 to 2004 has confirmed his belief that firms should pursue one of his recommended strategies in order to succeed. From the firm's point of view, the most relevant and important aspects of a competitive environment is the industry in which the firm competes. In Porter's wording, the industry is the arena where competition takes place. In light of Porter's analysis, industries are comprised of firms that produce a close substitute, but the firm's competitive environment has a common structure consisting of 5 competitive forces. The forces which were viewed as the determinants of the industry's overall competitiveness and profitability are threats of a new entry, intensity of rivalry among the existing firms, pressure of substitute products, bargaining power of buyers, and bargaining power of suppliers. In Porter's work, analyzing an industry in terms of 5 competitive forces would help the firm identify its strength and weaknesses. Porter's main argument to support this is that if the firm knows the effect of its competitive forces, it can take defensive or offensive actions in order to place itself in a situation in a suitable position against the pressure exerted by these five forces. Potters further suggested strategies that firms should pursue in order to position themselves against the pressures of the main competitive forces and achieve higher profitability than the industry's average. These strategies were presented in the so-called model of generic competitive strategies, which was published by Potter in 1980. The term generic refers to the broadest level of strategic approach that the firm chooses to pursue regardless of its business, whether it's manufacturing or service industry. Porter's generic competitive strategies focus on two dimensions, which are strategic advantage and strategic target. As mentioned earlier, strategic or competitive advantage is of two kinds: product differentiation and cost leadership. Potter points out strategic target can be in terms of geographic target, customer segment soft, and the range of products. The combination of these two dimensions these two dimensions, competitive advantage and strategic target, creates the three main strategic alternatives, which are differentiation, cost leadership, and focus strategy, where focus strategy can also be of three kinds: cost focus, differentiation focus, or cost and differentiation focus. As mentioned earlier, while explaining its three main strategic alternatives, Potter asserts that effectively implementing any of these generic strategies usually requires total commitment and supporting organizational arrangements that are diluted if there is more than one primary target. Another misunderstanding revolves around the need to choose between low cost and differentiation. Organizations should be really clever while choosing these strategies and gain competitive advantage. They must be able to choose the strategies which are viable and market centric. Uh, Arman Nidhi and Stringa 2014.
Now I'd like to talk a bit about Porter's five forces as well. Competition is what keeps organizations and industries alive. Porter argues that the main aim of the strategist is to recognize and handle a competitive environment by directly looking at competitors or to contemplate a broader perspective that competes against the organization. Howard Business School professor Michael Porter was keen to understand the drivers of success in commercial organization. His research indicated that industry structure mattered more than individual form behavior, and his five forces model offers his explanation of the source of competition at industry level. In the early 1980s, Michael Porter made a major contribution to the analysis of innovation in corporate strategy. The model was based on the theory of determining the competitive intensity and attractiveness of a market. This five force framework is an influential and straightforward tool for identification of certain powers in line with a particular business situation by using the outside-in perspective. And this was mentioned in the article proposed by Johnson, Schools, and Whittington in 2000. in 2008. The framework distinguishes five forces in the micro environment that drive competition and jeopardize an organization ability to make a profit. The origin of the Porter's framework is based on the industrial economies or industrial organization, that is IO approach. The IO approach presumes that the attraction of an industry in which an organization operates is defined by the market structure, due to the reason that a market structure affects the behavior of market contributors. The market structure in turn affects the strategic behavior of organization. For example, market success depends on the competitive strategy. Mohapatra in 2012, she denotes that individual forces and their collective impact will change as the government policies and macro environment and environmental condition will change. Even after closer examination, it becomes obvious that the model allows an organization to gain a deeper understanding of how profit is divided between the five forces of a specific industry. Hence, it will enable the organization to get a better understanding of which industry player hold the most power and likely determine the rule of activities. Moreover, the framework allows organization to obtain not only a glimpse of the industry at a particular point of time, but a view of the dynamics of the industry and potential changes in the future in order to obtain competitive advantage. Noreen, Julie, and Robert highlighted that when Porter introduced these five forces model, it propelled strategic management to the very heart of management agenda.
Porter's generic strategy does have its advantages. I would like to disagree and provide contradictions as to why these strategies might not always work. Starting with the risk of cost leadership, positioning a firm as a low cost manufacturer or service provider places a severe burden on the firm. Cost leadership is vulnerable to risks such as technological change that erases past investments and outdates past learning, risk of imitation by late entrants who have the advantage of low cost learning, lack of attention to the needs and preferences of a customer due to excessive concerns for cost minimization, unexpected inflation in costs that reduce the firm's ability to offset product differentiation through cost leadership. Now, talking about risk of differentiation strategy, it might be vulnerable to risk such as differential bet- increased cost differentiation between low cost producers, and the differentiating firm will motivate and customers brand loyalty to customers to switch brands. Thus buyers would sacrifice some additional features and image for huge savings in cost. Imitation might narrow down the perceived difference in a differentiating if a differentiating firm lags behind too much. A low cost firm might take over the market of the differentiating firm. Example, the Japanese motorcycle producer Kawasaki made inroads into the territory of differentiated players such as Harley Davidson and Triumph by offering cost savings to buyers. Now, a focus strategy might be vulnerable to risks, which are increasing cost differentiated between broad range competitors, and the focus firm might offset the differentiation achieved through focus and turn the customers towards firms that offer a broad range of products. Perceived or actual differences between products and services might disappear, and other firms might find sub-markets within the target markets of the focus firm, and outfocus the focuser, which started to the target market in the first place.
Uh, just now, fellow member talked about the downfalls of pursuing Porter's generic strategies. I like to disagree and in fact say that Porter's generic strategy would in fact provide an incremental performance benefits instead, and furthermore implementing combination competitive strategy of the Porter's generic strategy shows more benefits over just focusing on single strategy. What should so let's ask ourselves a few questions. So what should firms in the transition economy do strategically to become competitive and profitable? Should firms focus on implementing a singular competitive strategy that is either cost leadership or differentiation, or just focus on a niche market in order to become competitive and profitable? Or should firms consider implementing a strategy that simultaneously focuses on cost leadership and differentiation, or cost leadership and focus, or differentiation and focus? That is combination competitive strategy. So are there any incremental performance benefits to implementing a combination a competitive strategy over singular strategies? The answer is yes. And here, Aqua and Yasai Ardikani in 2008 have posited that the implementation of a combination competitive strategy is not only feasible, but will also generate superior incremental performance over the implementation of single competitive strategies. Yes, the risk and downfall that were just said may actually apply to just applying a singular strategy. But when you combine two different generic strategies, you are allowing one strategy to overtake what the other strategy would lack in while for tackling the market. So the implementation of a combination competitive strategy results in multiple sources of competitive advantage. That is economies of scale and brand and customer loyalty, as compared to advantages gained through the pursuit of single competitive strategies. I previously said this in my previous point as well, that hybrid strategies will always benefit over a single focusing on a single strategy. So moreover, the pursuit of a combination competitive strategy and each of these single competitive strategies will generate superior incremental performance over the inability to successfully pursue any of the singular competitive strategies that is stuck in the middle. So a research by Aqua and Yesai Ardikani in 2008 shows that there is a significant performance benefit to firms that will pursue a combination strategy. So this result implies that firms focusing only on a cost leadership strategy in a transition economy or emerging market will benefit significantly by combining it with a differentiation strategy. So implementing a combination strategy is more viable than cost leadership strategy alone, or differentiation strategy alone, or just focus strategy alone, because in a transition economy, customers are not only price sensitive, but they also have become progressively conscious of quality, image, and services. Let's take McDonald's, for example, that I previously gave an example on, where the difference in developed markets versus the difference in emerging markets in China, where the customers that preferred speed of service in emerging markets, they preferred the quality and ambiance of that organization. So the results, however, show that firms that pursue a differentiation strategy may not benefit by combining it with a cost leadership strategy. Although firms that pursue a differentiation strategy in transition economies would also need to focus on cost reduction in order to be competitive with domestic and foreign firms, a dual focus on differentiation and cost leadership does not seem to confer significant incremental benefits over a focus on differentiation only. So there's this contradiction where the organizations that follow cost leadership strategy can combine with differentiation strategy for incremental profit. However, when organizations that pursue a differentiation strategy do not always incur the same profit strategy when they combine it with cost leadership. So the results also indicate that firms pursuing the cost leadership, differentiation, or the combination strategy experience significant incremental performance benefit over the firms that are stuck in the middle. So these results clearly suggest that implementing a coherent strategy is essential for achieving superior firm performance. It should be noted that market competition is positive and significant in all models. So in suggesting that the economic liberalization policies allow firms operating in highly competitive environments to improve their performance.
I agree to what my friend just said previously. Porter in 1980 argued that cost leadership and differentiation are such fundamentally differing strategies requiring such a different set of resources that any firm attempting to combine them could win off stuck in the middle and fail to enjoy the superior performance. From a traditional business perspective, cost leadership and differentiation do seem incompatible. Cost leadership requires standardized products with few unique features or services that so that costs are kept to a minimum. On the other hand, differentiation usually depends on offering customer unique benefit and feature which almost always increase production and marketing cost. Subsequent studies have both supported and called into a question Porter claims. Studies by Davis 1984 and Kim and Lim 1988 found that frame employing only one of the Porter generic strategy outperformed frame pursuing element of more than one strategy. Robinson and Pierce 1988 in their study of 97 manufacturing frame found that stuck in the middle frames showed lower level of performance. Several other studies have, however, challenged Porter's topology and cautioned his claim about the uniqueness of the generic strategy. For example, Hill 1988 argued that sustainable competitive advantage rests on the successful combination of these two strategies. um, Porter's tropology and well known that the development of any successful business strategy should reflect the larger competitive environment. He argues that since industry environment do not exactly suggest the need for cost leadership or differentiation, there is a little reason to conclude that only one strategy should be employed in response to any particular environment. Observed that several online companies have successfully employed a combination of cost leadership and differentiation, and Amazon is offered as a case in a point. Amazon's skills at branding, innovation, and channel management have successfully differentiated it from its competitor, but the many regularly offering a low cost price on much of its merchandise. As a result, it is difficult to categorize mm, Amazon into either strategy type. Amazon does not emphasize lower price and offer many discount, but it has also very innovative. Amazon website was designed around a straightforward five-step process that makes the customer shopping experience convenient and helpful. Quick delivery is also a hallmark of Amazon shopping experience. While we do not want to minimize the very real challenge of pursuing a successful combination of generic strategy, Hill 2001, Porter 1980, we believe that an integrated strategy combining element of cost leadership and differentiation is not only possible but is the most successful strategy for e-business frame to pursue. As discussed in the previous section, the strategy of cost leadership suffers from many essential disadvantages. It is thus likely to offer lower performance than an integrated strategy that combines the best features of the cost leadership and differentiation. Integrated strategy will have a higher performance than a pure differentiation strategy since a strategy of a pure differentiation does not take advantage of the internet potential for lowering cost.
My friends previously talked about the drawbacks of generic strategies, and another group member also talked about how combining two generic strategies would yield significant performance benefit for the firm. And I would like to present some tactics to tackle the drawbacks of generic strategies, along with some examples of firms. So, for a differentiation strategy, the tactics to handle the drawbacks would be extensive training of marketing personnel and developing a broad range of new products or services. And the third one would be refining existing products or services and developing a brand identification. Also, innovation in marketing and technology is also one of the method, um, as an example of Land Rover was presented before, how the company implemented these tactics and was highly benefited. The next one is building a positive relationship within the industry for technological leadership and forecasting new market growth. Um, Fostering innovation and creativity and building a high market share within an industry also helps for differentiation strategies. And some of the example of firms that have benefited from this differentiation strategies are Land Rover, as already mentioned before, and another one is Pizza Hut, which is a differentiator who continually innovated with new products to keep its customer interested and was able to build and maintain a customer relationship using their massive data warehouse. And another example would be P&G as well. Now, talking about cost leadership strategy, the tactics for this would be vigorous pursuit of cost reduction and a tight control of overhead cost and minimizing distribution cost. For example, um, cost, firms that have implemented cost leadership strategy would be Walmart. This also has been already mentioned before in the seminar, and they are a pioneer in cost docking techniques since 1990s, and this has benefited them hugely. Um, Another tactics for cost and focused cost strategy would be providing outstanding customer service and improving operational efficiency, controlling the quality of products or services, and extensive training of frontline personals and intensive supervision of for frontline personals. And talking about differentiation strategy, tactics for this would be providing specialty products and services, producing products or services for high price market segments, dropping unprofitable customers, and targeting a specific market. And examples of example of focused differentiation is Pier One Company, which is a home and decor indoor furniture manufacturing company, and they compete more efficiently in the retail market by focusing on providing unique specialty products and services. And another example is Cadillac division of General Motors, which differentiated the brand to appeal its Chinese elite high-flying entrepreneurs and the only market segment that could offer Cadillac's hefty, according to the company. And Porter's generic strategies are the widely accepted to a pool of options for any organization to pursue and to achieve success and competitive advantage. And participations in an industry may be successful following any of these generic strategies as long as they stick closely to this strategy and not move towards the stuck in the middle position, where the position of I'm trying to be all the things to the customers. And firm pursuing a narrow set of customers will pick one end to the continuum of the focus strategy. Thank you.
Now, for my final point, I'd like to talk about why innovation is not easy. A key challenge in the current environment is that the stage on which the innovation game is played has expanded enormously. Whereas technical development was confined to a few nations in the early 20th century, it has expanded to the point where it is generated and used globally, and where the challenges are those of being a global player. Although innovation is increasingly seen as a powerful way of securing competitive advantage and a more secure approach to defending strategic positions, success is by no means guaranteed. The history of product and process innovations is littered with examples of apparently some good ideas which has failed, in some cases with spectacular consequences. For example, in 1952, Ford engineers began working on a new car to counter the mid-size models offered by GM and Chrysler, the E-car. After an exhaustive search for a name involving some 20,000 suggestions, the car was finally named after Henry Ford's son. When the first Edsel came off the production line, Ford has to spend an average of $10,000 per car, which was twice the vehicle's cost to get them roadworthy. But unexpectedly, it was not successful. Publicity plan was to have 75 Edsel drive on the same day to local dealers, but in the event, the former only managed to get 68 to go, while in other live TV slot, the car failed to start. By 1958, consumer indifference to the design and concern about its reputation led the company to abandon the car at a cost of $450 million. Studies of product innovation consistently point to a high level of failure between initial idea and having a successful product in the marketplace. Actual figures range from 30% to as high as 95%, whereas expected average is 38%. But this should not surprise us. After all, innovation is by nature a very risky business. And we need to remember that there is a great deal of uncertainty in innovation made up of technical, market, social, political, and other factors, with the result that the odds are not too good for success unless the process is managed carefully. The key point here is to ensure that experiments are well designed and controlled so as to minimize the incidence of failures, and to ensure that where the failure does occur, lessons are learned to avoid falling into the same trap in the future.
Now we are at the end of this debate. I would like to take this debate towards the conclusion. The student-led seminar made us clear about Porter's generic competitive strategies. In the debate, we discussed Porter's generic competitive strategies focuses on two dimensions, which are strategic advantage and strategic target. Strategic or competitive advantage is of two kinds: product differentiation and cost leadership. Creativity and innovation are most important variables in the current scenario. and essential elements for sustainability of an organization that aims to keep competitiveness by creating and adding value to their products to face the competition. Creativity and innovation both contributes to our best competitiveness in constantly changing environments. Organizations can have focus strategies depending on their strategic needs. There are both opportunities and threats of these strategies. Generic strategies can help organizations to cope with the five competitive forces in the industry and do better than other organizations in the industry. By producing high volume of standardized products, the firm hopes to take advantage of economics of scale and experience curve effects. Maintaining cost leadership strategy requires a continuous search for cost reduction in all aspects of the businesses. The associated distribution strategy is distribution possible. Differentiation is a viable strategy for earning above Differentiation is a viable strategy for earning above average returns in a specific businesses because the resulting because its resulting brand loyalty lowers customers sensitivity to price.
Research does suggest that a differentiation strategy is more likely to generate higher profits than is a low cost strategy because differentiation creates a better entry barrier. A low cost strategy is more likely, however, to generate increases in market share. Focus strategy is more suitable for relatively small firms but can be used by any company. As a focus strategy, it may be used to select targets that are less vulnerable to substitutes or where a competition is weakest to earn above average return on investments. Generally, firms pursue only one of the above generic strategies. However, some firms make an effort to pursue only one of the above generic strategies. Some firms make an effort to pursue more than one strategy at a time by bringing out a differentiated product at low cost. Though approaches like these are successful in short term, these are hardly sustainable in the long term. If firms try to maintain cost leadership as well as differentiation at the same time, they may fail to achieve either. Combining multiple strategies is successful in only one case, and combining a market segmentation strategy with a product differentiation strategy is an effective way of matching a firm's product strategy to the characteristic to the market target market segments. But combinations like cost leadership will with product differentiation are hard to implement due to the potential for conflict between cost minimization and the additional cost of value added differentiation. We have now come to the end of our debate, and I would like to thank our tutor, Mr. Sunitra Pradhanang, for facilitating and guiding us throughout this debate. Thank you so much, sir.
Okay, thank you so much for the wonderful debate. Yes, creativity and innovation is required for the sustainability of any business nowadays. And if you have to stay competitive, yes, you have to have creativity and innovation. When we see creativity and innovation from Porter's generic strategy, yes, it is a very old strategy. It was developed in 1985. I know all of you were not born on those years, okay, but I was born, okay. But it's an old strategy, but now also it's very much relevant. You have talked about it and given so wonderful examples of Porter's generic strategy and how it still is applicable now, okay. you have given example how this kind of cost leadership strategy is given by are used by multinationals still today, and how this advantage, how this works, this strategy works, how can we have the cost advantage, and how some of the companies, big companies, have competitive advantage because of the cost leadership. Talking about the cost, we talked about the cost leadership, but what about the differentiation strategy? Yes, differentiation strategies are also used, and now it's all about having different, the product is different. You also talked about the focus strategy, or focusing on a niche, a small target market, micro marketing. How is it important? And focus is not just having differentiation. Focus differentiation is there, and focus cost leadership, cost as well. Okay, so we can go to a certain segment and differentiate according to the cost as well, the by having promoting the affordability as well. So that is there as well. And you people have also talked about the the combination of both of the strategy. Maybe both of the strategies are important, and a lot of different companies, they are using different, they are using two different strategies, combination of both the strategies. Yes, this is very much required. We have to understand the market, and what is how is the market, that is the important. Are they price conscious, or do they want some values that differentiate others? So that is important. That was properly portrayed in your student-led seminar. Just the I like the content part, and still we want to make it more of a debate. Yes, there were a wonderful references that was given. The sources was great. You cited the source was very proper sources by many of the participants, and this was very good. And have some confidence, and let's make it more of a debate. But content wise, yes, it was so much wonderful to see the content that you have built up. But let us make a free flow seminar rather than just speaking about what you have found. Okay, so let's have more critics and support. Yes, we have seen improvement, and I know that the main purpose of this study, this activity, you have known about how competitiveness created by the creativity and innovativeness, and how we can relate it with the Porter's generic strategy. I hope you will improve on the points that I have quoted, and make this session even better. Thank you so much. Stop the recording.